Welcome back to the channel. This is Wes, and today I'm going to do a review of Invaders #1 from Marvel Comics. Bottom line up front, this is going to be a positive review. This is a good book. This is actually a lot of fun. Starting out with the cover, this is from Butch, Guice, one of the interior artists. It's a fine cover. The art's really good. It doesn't really like this scene doesn't actually happen, of course, in the book, but that's fine. It's cool art. It's a fine cover. Nothing spectacular here, but it certainly does its job. So on to the credits. The writer is Zdarksy. He's really been on a roll at Marvel Comics. His Marvel 2-in-1 series was really good until it got derailed by poor art. The announcement of the Fantastic Four series that was going to replace it. And then his run on Spectacular Spider-Man was actually great. So the artists are Magno and Butch, Guice, who I've already mentioned. So this story is basically told in 3 parts. There's flashbacks of World War II when the Invaders were together as a team. Then there's the more active part of the story, which is Namor building up his army. And then there's a more passive part where you have Jim Hammond's the original Human Torch, and he's doing like a biography of the Invaders' time in World War II, and he's talking to Captain America and doing some interviews. So you get some exposition that way and some ideas of where the story is going. But it starts off with a flashback. This is Namor in World War II. You can see it's the old design. That's probably one of the best things that this book does is with the art. It marries the old design with the new design, but the art is seamless. It looks like it belongs together. It's not jarring when you go from the flashbacks to the current time. Now the colors look different, so that's well done. It's executed really well. Like you can tell this is a different time just by looking at it. So we start out here. Here's Namor. He's on the battlefield, writhing in pain, and he hears someone needs a medic, and he goes over to help out. And the soldier explains to him that Tommy was flanking from the right, and they've lost him. Apparently, Tommy and Namor are pretty good friends. So we see also before Namor takes off to save him, the soldier says, "How long has it been since you've been in water? You know you can't live without it." So it's explaining right now Namor is actually already in danger. He's doing this at his own peril. So it's very heroic action. He jumps, he's going to go save Tommy. He gets blasted out of the air. As he's on the ground, he looks up and he sees that his friend Tommy is being shot down on the battlefield. So here we skip to after this, after the confrontation on the battlefield. You see Namor is in the arms of a French woman. He's trying to woo her, and Captain America showed up to let him know that Tommy's funeral is happening and he needs to be with friends. And you can see that this really drives home that the loss of his friend in battle has really affected him. And here you can see Namor say, "How humans do things? Am I supposed to be weepy over the deaths of your kind? Do you expect me to get attached to things so frail? Do you weep for dropped eggs? I'm here to stop these Nazis before they take my seas." So you can see there he doesn't want to get attached to humans anymore. He's experienced loss on the battlefield, and he's in a compromised emotional state. So later in the story, Namor decides to go and expand his kingdom. So later, Namor goes to recruit the Seablades, who are under the rule of Guice. Technically, they should be under the rule of the Atlantean king, which he's claiming rights to the throne. He approaches them and lets them know that they must join him or die. So they decide to take a blade to his chest, and he lets them know that violence against your king is punishable by death. And then the next thing he does is he displays his power, vanquishes the water from their city. And this is one of the pieces of art I actually don't like. So it appears that he's split the water open, but he's flying above the city, but he's like hovering there, like I think it was Magneto in the last X-Men movie. And it looks kind of hokey and stupid. Like he should probably be more in a flying pose, and it makes it kind of confusing. So he displays his power, and then he states to Guice, "I'm not so unreasonable. I ask you again, join me." And of course, Guice at this point, seeing the power, seeing that he could destroy the entire city and kill his Seablades, joins up. So while this is going on, Jim Hammond's the original Human Torch is interviewing Captain America for an upcoming biography about the Invaders' time during World War II. And they start talking about Namor and about how he murdered the Roxxon employees in Avengers #9. And then Jim Hammond explains, "It's obvious he thinks he's at war again. Steve, people are killed during wartime, and those killings stay with us, even if they felt justified and sanctioned." So they believe that Namor is out killing people because he believes he's in a war with the surface dwellers, which has happened a lot. But here's where we get the motivations of the other members of the Invaders, Steve Rogers and Jim Hammonds at this point. As Jim Hammonds explains, something happened to Namor. You know this better than anyone. Things aren't always as they seem. He doesn't need the Avengers or the Fantastic Four punching him for the millionth time. He needs the only people who understand him to save him. Help him, Steve, no matter what happens. So there we have good motivation for the team of Jim Hammonds, Steve Rogers, and of course Bucky Barnes is going to show up later to go and actually save Namor from himself, because he's not acting like himself due to the stress and trauma that he experienced during the World War II. And of course Namor's motivation is that he wants to end the surface dwellers. He wants to build up his Atlantean empire and take over the world. So later on, Jim Hammonds is interviewing an old survivor, and here we get more information about Namor's time in the war, as this man Randall explains that Namor saved his life twice. So after this, they wrap up the interview, and Jim's explaining to this guy that he has enough information and he appreciates his time. So Randall here decides to give him an old book that he had from the war that explained some of their actions and things that they had done, and he gives it to him. So as Jim's leaving, a family member of Randall's goes up to him and explains, "Hey, that's a family heirloom. Would you please leave it? We don't want you to take it. It means something to us." So as he's handing the book back, he accidentally drops it, and there's some pictures that fall out, and we'll get to that part here at the end. And while this is happening, Steve Rogers and Tony Stark are having a discussion, and it's obvious the Avengers want to deal with Namor and the Atlanteans themselves. So Steve is letting Tony know that while Namor is a threat, the Avengers aren't going to take him down. It's actually going to be the Invaders because they're friends. And then we get a little bit more information on why Karras joined up with Namor. As one of his cohorts says, "What did he say to you, Karras?" And he says, he told me his plan. It's audacious. It will change everything." And then Jim Hammonds is looking at the photo, and he's explaining that this must have been the time when Namor was an amnesiac. And then on the last page, he says, "What's Charles Xavier doing with him?" So this is really interesting. It provides an air of mystery to the story. And then we have Tony Stark pleading with Steve Rogers, "Don't do this," as he calls up Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier, and says this is Invaders' business. And that's the end of the story. Overall, like I said, this is a really good book. If I'm going to give this one like a 4 out of 5. I think the art itself was really good. It probably stood out the most, the way that they seamlessly transition the designs from the original Invaders to where the characters are now. It was done really well. It was very vibrant, but it was still, you felt on the flashbacks, things felt like they were very dangerous. It felt like you were watching something in war. The story itself is really good. Namor definitely gets the most shine in this book. He definitely gets the most characterization, the most things to chew on. He's very active in the book. That's probably my biggest complaint, is that Captain America and Jim Hammonds are very passive. They're mostly just talking to each other and providing exposition for the story, but they do provide a very good motivation and moving forward. And one of the things that Chip Zdarksy did really well is here, he threw a couple of wild cards in. So overall, you have Namor on his mission to confront the surface dwellers and expand his Atlantean empire. You have the original Invaders are coming to save him. They know that he was changed by the war, and they want to help their friend. Then we have a couple of wild cards. You have Tony Stark and the Avengers wanting to take care of this themselves. Are they going to let the Invaders confront Namor and handle it themselves? Are they going to try and intervene? If they do, whose side is Captain America going to choose? Is he going to side with the Avengers, the team that he's currently a part of? Or is he going to side with his old friends and try to save Namor? So also you have the mystery of Charles Xavier and what that picture actually means. It obviously has to mean something. So I think that's really good. It provides intrigue. It provides anticipation for the next story and where the story is going to go. So this is really well done. I like Chip Zdarsky a lot. He's probably one of 2 or 3 writers at Marvel that I really enjoy, and I think they're very consistently good with their stories. Of course, he's going to be on the upcoming Daredevil season, and I believe I read that he's going to be doing some of the interior art for issue 1, which should be really exciting because he did interior art for his final issue of Spectacular Spider-Man. And it was awesome. It was actually probably the highlight art-wise of his entire run. It was much better than the other artists that have been working on it. So that's really exciting. This is a good book. I'm definitely going to keep checking it out. So let me know what you think. Those are just my opinions. Do you agree with me? Disagree with me? Let me know in the comments down below. If you liked the video, please give it a like. Subscribe to the channel for more reviews and commentary. Ring the bell for notifications. And with that, Salamat po, and I'm out.